What is your creepiest supernatural experience? Part 2. I woke up one night with a shadowy figure over me. I thought it was Mom, so I called out Mommy to her and she kind of just phased away right before my eyes. The phasing wasn't exactly phasing either. She didn't slowly disappear entirely or starting from the edges or evaporate like smoke. It was like my mind paused and didn't realize she was gone until my mind resumed. I asked my mother about what she wanted from me the following day, and she said she didn't come into my room at all. I chalked it up to sleep paralysis, since that was around the time where I had a really unhealthy sleep schedule, playing too much video games. I'm usually the type to be skeptical and try to figure out logical reasons for things, but there are a few incidents that I can't really explain. 1. When I was about 8, I was visiting a friend's grandparents that owned a farm with a swing set next to an outhouse. One night, everyone sat on the porch to just chat, and I decided to swing on the swings to pass time, and as I was swinging, I hear 2 voices inside the outhouse going, "Shh," and I stop swinging to listen closer, and then I hear a girl saying, "Stop that," and I book it. This could have been 2 kids hiding in there, but it was a pretty isolated farm, so it was creepy as hell. 2. When I was in high school, I was home alone one afternoon and I was watching TV upstairs in the loft, and I was expecting my brother to arrive from school at any time. I didn't hear a door open, but I did hear footsteps on the plastic walkway we had downstairs, and I assumed it was my brother. But then I started hearing loud sounds of the plastic as if he was jumping and stomping on it, and I yell out, "Stop!" And it does. When I didn't hear him come upstairs like he usually did, I went downstairs and turned out I was alone the entire time. Can't figure out what could have caused it. 3. I was playing hide and seek in the dark with my friends at one of their houses, and I decided to crouch in a little crevice in the kitchen. Right when I hid, I was facing the dining room, which was just pitch black. A couple of minutes of hiding, I for some reason felt inclined to stare into the darkness, and right away, I hear a man's voice whisper, loud and clear, "Hey, come here." I shoot up so quick and run into the living room. I thought maybe I was being paranoid, and it was one of my guy's friends' voices, but I asked them all, and they were hiding at completely different parts of the house. Thought maybe I was hearing things, but my other friend hiding nearby told me she heard the same thing, but she just assumed it was a guy friend, lol. As a kid, I used to see 3 figures outside my bedroom window looking at me. Sometimes they were there, sometimes they weren't. I have 2 brothers, and those 3 figures also seemed like ghostly siblings. I don't know, that was weird. Also, in the same space, I once woke up to something punching my stomach super hard. It was in the same stage of life as the weird shadow figures. The figures were probably a tree. The punch was probably me, but still creepy. Top 3. Number 1. Had a spare room in our old house with a foldable work table about a foot away from the closet door. We never went in the closet for anything. It was just a storage closet for my late dad's stuff that we kept. One day the closet door started swinging and banged on the table about 5 to 7 times. 2. Same house. My mom's TV in her room supposedly died. We checked everything from pushing the on button of the TV to making sure the outlet on the surge protector didn't go out by plugging the TV directly into the wall, and for some reason, something told me to check the cable cord that screws into the TV, even though if that was loose, the TV should still turn on but just be static. But I checked anyway, and it was as tight as can be without it being too tight, and I re-screwed it on to where it was. Maybe 1.5 hours later, after both of us being in the living room with nobody else in the house, I went to check something else and found the cable cord laying on top of the dresser drawer, and the metal screw in part was maybe 4 to 6 inches in front of the TV. Even if it was loose enough to fall off, it would have just fallen down behind the dresser drawers. I called my mom in to look at it. She did not understand why I was freaked out until I picked up and explained it to her, and pointing out she saw me make sure it was tight. Once I screwed it on the TV, it worked fine and never had a problem ever again. 3. While at work, I worked with a wall directly behind me. I felt a very, very faint hand touch my back about where my shoulder blade is. This happened recently, this January 2021. I was living in an apartment with a roommate. My roommate and I decided to put up a doorbell in our apartment so we'll know if there are people outside and stuff, especially when it comes to food delivery and parcels. My roommate had to go somewhere for the day and decided to sleep in his stepbrother's house because he was exhausted. That meant I was all alone in the apartment. I didn't really mind being alone because it meant I was able to do some gaming because I had an exhausting week during this time. Morning came, and I was woken up by the sound of the doorbell, so I ran immediately to go to the door. I thought my roommate had finally gotten back, and he forgot his keys. But when I opened the door, nobody was there. I messaged my roommate on Messenger asking if he arrived, but he was still offline for quite some time, so I shrugged it off and went back to my room. I thought maybe the person had left already and would possibly come back. Then 9 a.m. came, and the doorbell rang again. I ran to the door again, but when I opened the door, nobody was there. And it happened again at 12 noon. Again, nobody was there whenever I opened the door. Now, I enjoy ghost stories just like everyone else, but I'm a skeptic. 1. There was no way a person could have rang the doorbell and not be seen by the windows. 2. There was no way for a person to ring the doorbell and run off because the apartment is on the second floor. If a person were to jump from the second floor, they'd definitely break their legs. All wires and connections were working fine. One week, I kept waking up every night at 3:15 a.m. I didn't make anything out of it, except whenever I woke up, I had this eerie feel, but just got back to sleep after 10 minutes. I then looked up this time in the night out of curiosity and found out it's actually called witching hour or devil's hour, and supposedly supernatural activity is highest at this time until 4 a.m. I'm not superstitious or anything, so I didn't look into this much after this, but found the occurrence interesting. When I was 6, I noticed that I started hallucinating. The first time was in my house, and I woke up to this black dog staring at me, and he got them red eyes too. It didn't do anything, it just stared at me until I went to sleep. Second time was at Grandma's house. I was killing some ants because she had an ant infestation. I was singing a little song, doing my thing, and then I hear someone stomping. So I look, and it's this 6-foot big thing just standing in the hallway. I asked my grandma what it was, and she didn't even look. I don't remember what else happened. I think I was creeped out and left. I helped an old lady. She was a poor woman who wanted to pick thick paper boxes so she could burn it in winter. I asked markets if they had some. They gave her some. Then I went to the car, and my mom asked the situation. After that, I felt the urge to give her some cash or get her some funds from social organizations. Went off the car, went to the street she walked to. There was nothing. There was not any house, and I only spent like 45 seconds in the car. Considering she was a slow old woman, I was both surprised and terrified. Besides that, being poor and lonely at late in life is pretty tough. I hope she did not freeze to death. A lot. First things that come to mind would be when me and two of my best friends, I'll call them James and Cy, stayed in the classroom because we didn't want to participate in our PE, so our teacher let us clean because we wanted to. It was just the three of us bickering about scary stories until the faucet turned on. We assumed that another one of our classmates stayed behind to use the bathroom and told Cy to check it out. He checked. Empty. Then we heard knocking from the bathroom and got a bit spooked because James kept saying that whenever she was alone in the classroom, she'd hear whispering in the bathroom. All of these happened in broad daylight, by the way. This isn't the creepiest, saving it for another time, but it is the trippiest. So when I think I was 9, I had a dream that I went to school and we were going to learn how to do division. And when I went to school, we learned division, and on like, hey, something seems familiar about this. And then I get a daydream about the same thing. I'm like, the hell is going on? Then I go to sleep and have the same dream. And at this point I'm thinking, am I okay? And after 3 days of this, it ended. Then I had a nightmare of my biggest fear. Not going to say it because it won't make sense to you. And when I woke up, I was crying and sweating hard. And to this day, I don't know if I was possessed or if some weird shit happened in the universe that day. This probably seems pretty tame compared to most supernatural experiences, but I was home alone in my kitchen making dinner when I hear something that sounds like someone walking up the basement stairs. The door to the basement was in the kitchen. It wasn't a long, drawn-out sound. Just sounded like someone had taken the last 2 to 3 steps before reaching the door. I turned around and I watched the basement door swing open on its own, and there was nothing on the staircase. It was absolutely fucking horrifying, and I thought I was going to throw up. I left the house and didn't go back for like 2 days, LOL. I have family in Louisiana. Took a trip down for Grandma's 90th birthday, and my cousins took us down to the French Quarters. We're walking around and exploring the block when we come across this church. rotten wood, chipped paint, overgrown yard, broken windows, and so on. My cousins and I are a mixed bag of enjoying the paranormal stuff and wanting nothing to do with any of it. Personally, I like reading about paranormal activity, not living it, so I stayed on the sidewalk while two of my older cousins walk around the church. They don't go inside, but one comes back and says that she feels hairs standing up in the back of her neck. We booked it the fuck out of there and went home. She calls me over because I'm the only one who's awake and asks me to check her back. It feels like it's burning and it stings like hell. When I look, she's got these long red lines like someone dragged a rake across her shoulders, then down her spine. She didn't do it herself, and she doesn't know how it got there. Either she fell in a rake somehow, or she had a very angry entity attack her. In my first house, when my son was around 3 years old, we were sitting in the living room watching cartoons. It was around 9 p.m., and I was trying to get him to doze off to sleep. All of a sudden, a quick flash of an old-looking lady raced through the side doorway, through the kitchen, and then through the other doorway into the laundry room. All the doorways were very close to each other. That has a side exit to the house. I was completely freaked out and ran into the kitchen and checked the laundry room, and nothing was there. I checked the locks and everything was shut right. I looked at my son and asked him if he saw that too, and he responded, "You mean that old grandma?" Chills ran down my spine. Thankfully, nothing like that ever happened again. I was alone at home with my 2-year-old one night. He was sleeping in his own bedroom and I was in mine. I got woken up at 1:30 a.m. by the noise of my wooden bedroom door creaking open. It's unfortunately a very noisy door. I saw a white hand pushing it open, but it was high off the ground, much higher than that of a 2-year-old could reach. I called out my son's name, and the hand quickly retracted. After some hesitation, I got out of my bed eventually, half asleep and confused, wondering if it might have been my husband, having returned home early. But my husband wasn't in the hallway passage, and the security door at the other end of the hallway was still closed. I then noticed smoke was coming out of my son's dimly lit room. I entered the room and saw that my son was tucked in his bed and fast asleep. Then I spotted the origin of the smoke. The bottom of his bedroom window curtain was somehow inside his nightlight or bed lamp, which was open at the top, and it had just begun to catch fire with a tiny flame slowly growing. I pulled out the curtain and quickly suffocated the flame by blowing on it and slapping it. I did not wake up my son. I put the bed lamp somewhere out of reach of the curtain. I believe wind came in through the window and blew the curtain, so that when it settled back in, it settled on top of and inside the lamp. I never found out whose hand that was, and my son the next day was completely oblivious to the events. My husband said it was a guardian angel. There were some other smaller unexplainable occurrences after that. One time my son lost my glasses after playing with them. I told him he had to find them or else he would get punished. A while later, some pot's lid fell off inside a cupboard with a loud clanking sound, and when I opened the cupboard, my glasses were in there. I told this to the wife of our pastor, and she warned me that there is no such thing as benevolent ghosts, and that is most certainly an evil presence trying to win our favor. She said she would pray for our house during her next prayer group session. She did, and we never experienced any such paranormal events again. That last one is a repeat, so you can leave it out or whatnot. Anyway, that's the end of this file. See you soon, brother.